So now we're going to complete the square. If we start off with something like x squared plus bx, and we want to write it as a perfect square, we start by taking half of the x coefficient, half of the number that's in front of x, which is, in this case, b over 2. We square it, so it's b over 2 squared, and we add that number to both sides. Looking at this example problem, our number that we are interested in, our coefficient, numerical coefficient. So we take that 4, let's come over to the side, and we say, hey, I want to take that 4, I want to divide by 2. That gives me 2. Now I want to square that number. That gives me 4. So I like to call 4 our magic number. If we add 4 to both sides of the equation, and we must add it to both sides to keep the equation in balance, then we have chosen the one perfect number that allows this to be a special product that can be factored as x plus 2 quantity squared, and it equals 14. It's great because now we can solve it. We can say, hey, I want to take the square root of both sides. Remember to take the positive and negative square root. And then subtract 2 from both sides. And we have our answer. It's a very clever, I think an easier way to solve an equation. You just have to complete the square. You have to find that magic number. So in general, to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, we have to make sure that it's written in the form ax squared plus bx equals c. So your x terms are on the left, your numbers on the right. You divide, if a is not equal to 1, you divide both sides by a. So you want your x squared to have 1 as its numerical coefficient. Take half of the x coefficient and square it. That gives you the magic number. Add that to both sides of the equation. Factor the resulting perfect square trinomial and use the principle of square roots to solve. So this equation is nice. It's already set up in our form that we like. We have x squared and x on the left, a number on the right. Our x squared has a numerical coefficient of 1, so we're good there. So now we just have to figure out what that magic number is. You take your negative 12, the number that's multiplied times x, you divide by 2, that gives you negative 6. You take that negative 6 and you square it. That gives you 36. So 36 is our number. We're going to add 36 to both sides. The left factors into a perfect square. Something squared equals 40. What is that something? I'll give you a hint. It's always this number before you square it. X minus 6 squared. So now we can take the square root of both sides. X minus 6 equals plus or minus square root of 40. X minus 6 equals, we need to simplify that, plus or minus square root of 40. That's 4 times 10, square root of 4 times 10. Let's add 6 to both sides. Square root of 4 is 2, and we still have radical 10. So that's our solution. This one's not in the correct form. We need to have the x squared and the x on the left, but we don't want that plus 3 there. So how about we add 3 to both sides? Now we need to figure out that magic number that completes the square. We take the number that's in front of the 10, that's negative, or in front of the x, that's negative 10. We divide by 2. That gives us negative 5. Now we take our -5 and we square it. That gives us 25. So we are going to add 25 to both sides. Now we can factor the left-hand side as something squared equals 28. What is this something over here? Once again, it's always this number before you square it. So that gives us x minus 5 equals plus or minus square root of 28. Can we simplify that radical? Let's add 5 to both sides. 28 is 4 times 7. So we have 2 radical 7, and that's our solution. Completing the square, a very, very good technique to know. So we will move on to the next section. That's the end of this one.